This week we examine some of the defining moments of early Tibetan history. I always tell my students I'm not a historian. Sometimes I even find history to be dry and also boring, but I also acknowledge that knowledge of history, even at a surface level, is important for understanding the present. But before we look at the history, we need to have a crash course in Buddhism. Buddhism begins in Lumbini, present-day Nepal, which you can see from this map lies between India and Tibet. Therefore, it shouldn't be too surprising that Buddhism spreads to nearby regions. In fact, Buddhism spreads from its central core to India, Central Asia, including modern-day Afghanistan, Mongolia, Tibet, China, Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia. Therefore, Buddhism established itself and remains very much a world religion. Buddhism is the religion and philosophy preached by a prince turned ascetic born in the 6th century BCE named Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha was born in an aristocratic family from a tribe of mostly rice farmers. Little is known about his childhood, but legend tells that as a teenager, Siddhartha wanted to see beyond the confines of his compound and snuck outside. There he saw suffering in the forms of a sick person, an elderly person, and a corpse, which respectively represent illness, aging, and death. Shocked by these findings, Siddhartha turned his back on the comforts, materials offered in his aristocratic life and renounced his wealth, becoming an ascetic. Though despite fasting, meditating for hours, and secluding himself from others, the young man did not attain enlightenment. Therefore, he sought a middle path. He then taught his philosophy of the middle way for over 40 years. The Buddha's first teaching, or the first turning of the wheel, are delivered as 4 truths, or the 4 noble truths. The first truth is what I like to call the everything sucks doctrine. In other words, Buddha realized that life is full of pain and suffering, a term known as dukkha. Suffering takes many forms. As we see from this quote, suffering is birth, aging, sickness, dying, sorrow, grief, pain, unhappiness, and unease. Also, being united with what is not like to suffering. Separation from what is like to suffering and not to get what one wants is also suffering. Of course, some forms of suffering are obvious, visible, or are easily felt, such as pain, anxiety, despair, etc. However, even seemingly pleasant emotions or experiences are types of suffering too, because they are temporary and relative. Therefore, change, which occurs all the time, at all times, and cannot be controlled, itself is suffering or dukkha. Oftentimes, the 4 noble truths are presented as a sickness, cause, cure, doctor analogy. If the sickness is suffering, then, as a doctor would, its source needs to be discovered. According to Buddhism, attachment is the cause of all suffering. But objects themselves are not suffering. Therefore, it is insufficient to just avoid everything we crave in order to eliminate attachment. According to Buddhist philosophy of the mind, attachment is caused by our mind's own imperfections, specifically craving, aversion, and delusion. The image presented in this slide is called the Wheel of Life, and it is often displayed at the front of every Buddhist temple because it captures the essence of Buddhist teachings. At the center of the concentric circles are images of a rooster, pig, and snake, which respectively represent craving, delusion, and aversion. I also bring your attention to this image now because your readings of Trisong Detsen's conversion edict speaks of rebirth. Remember, Buddhism believes in reincarnation. And the 6 realms of rebirth are the heaven realm, the realm of rage and conflict, the realm of animals, the hell realm, the realm of frustrated cravings, and the human realm. And the human realm is believed to be the most auspicious. We will discuss the outer circles later this quarter. Continuing with the 4 Noble Truths, the third states that to end suffering, you must eliminate attachment. But this direction is very specific. We need, through deep practice, to transcend or overcome attachment entirely. Do not fear. Although the basic teachings of Buddhism seem grim, they do offer a remedy and cure. Follow the Eightfold Path. Here is the Eightfold Path, visualized as spokes of a wheel. Don't worry, you don't need to memorize them. But note how they are divided into 3 groups. Ethical conduct, which means avoiding negative actions. Concentration or meditation, and wisdom, which is obtained by study, thinking, and meditating. Also, the parts of the Eightfold Path are not steps in a series. One is to maintain all of these behaviors at all times. However, Buddhist philosophy maintains that ethics are the basis of concentration, and concentration is the basis of wisdom. In the Tibetan language, the 4 truths are not presented as assertive statements like we saw in English. In other words, I'm not asserting there is a way to nirvana, but stating true paths lead there. Of course, it is assumed that if such a path exists, there must be a way there. The truth is seen to exist. One embarks on this path in order to reach nirvana, or the extinguishing of the defilements. Remember the rooster, pig, and snake. In other words, nirvana is a negative way of talking about enlightenment, saying not so much what it is or what is there, but what is no longer there. Okay, there are your Buddhism basics. Don't worry, we will cover Buddhism in much more detail.